Hello everyone. I'm so sorry about the way I look right now, but I'm really tired and I kind of just wanted to film this for you. I wanted to introduce you to my puppy, Lily, my foster pup. But mainly what I wanted to do was I wanted to talk about my recent acceptance into a nursing program. And I kind of wanted to give you guys some pointers and some questions that you may get asked. And I'm just going to kind of go over the question, how I think you should answer it, and then I'll give you like my response and how I went ahead and answered the question. I'm sorry for the messy background, but I just have everything on my counter. Okay, without further ado, my little puppy Lily is going to help me answer these questions with you guys. Okay. So, during a nursing interview, the first, when you're there, I did mine on the video camera, but even if you're in video or in person, the first thing that you want to do is, hi, good morning, how are you today? Be the first person to say that. Just be very nice, very polite. Show them that you're enthusiastic, not over the top. But, don't wait for them to say good morning to you. Why don't you say it first? That way they can be like, oh, you know what? This student's, pleasant. Because they're going to be interviewing so many kids in the same day. Whatever. They're going to definitely be more impressed if you just go ahead right off the bat and introduce yourself. How's your day been? Something like that. Whatever. Okay. So the first question that people are asked is, so why do you want to be a nurse? Okay. So in this question, you kind of have to skip the whole I want to help people thing, because every single healthcare profession wants to help people. They know that you want to help people. They want to know why. Why nursing? Like, why didn't you choose PA? Why didn't you choose respiratory therapy? Why didn't you choose something else? Anything. Why is it nursing? Why are you passionate about nursing? So go further than that. This is where you want to list any experience that you've had. Like, what influenced you to want to be a nurse? Talk about, this is where you want to talk about, like I said, a personal experience that basically confirmed your decision to want to be a nurse. Use your past experiences as to why you believe that nursing is the career for you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the response that I did. So that way you guys have a kind of I didn't say this word for word. I wrote my answers out just so that I would have a general idea of what I was going to say, so that I wouldn't ramble on. But obviously I didn't sit there and read what I wrote. I said it from my heart. But I had something written out so that I would know about the topic that I wanted to really hit on, that would make me, separate myself from other people. So basically I said, I'm pursuing an education in nursing because I want to heal patients mentally and physically when they're at their worst. My decision to become a nurse became solidified during the COVID-19 pandemic. And here I talked about how I was assigned to the COVID cohorts at the hospital that I work at, and basically I said, while many other healthcare providers transitioned into a work from home or remote location, the nurses were truly at the front lines. And I said, I gained a greater appreciation for what it meant to be a nurse. And then I listed what a nurse meant to me. And I was like, the nurse is the go-to person for all need to know information for the patient. And then I said, the nurse is the greatest patient advocate, as they are with the patient 12 hours a day. Then I said, why I discovered my passion for nursing. And I said, I discovered my passion for nursing because I realized that I want to be there with the patient in person, serving as a mentor, friend, supporter, and cheerleader on their road to recovery. And then basically I kind of went on to say my educational goals as, for the school that I'm with, why I, want to pursue nursing specific. I went ahead and added why I wanted to pursue nursing specifically with them, just because it made me look like I was researching into the school, which is going to get into my next point about that, but I kind of just threw it in there because I wanted to make sure I got that in sometime in the interview, so I said, what better way to get it in than in the beginning? And then I kind of just made it personal, and what I did, because I'm very scared during interviews, I just took a deep breath and I spoke because I'm a fast speaker, so I spoke very slowly and softly. So because I'm loud and very fast speaking, like I said, so I spoke softly and I took my time because they understand that you're nervous. I'm sorry about this. They understand that you're nervous. They understand that you might make a mistake in your speaking. So don't sweat that. Just take your time. Think about what you're saying before you say it so that you're not just rambling. So always, always, always include, I'm passionate about nursing. I'm passionate about this, because they want students that are passionate about what they do. Something else that you might be asked, I wasn't asked this, but introduce yourself. All right, so here, you don't want to be like, hi, I'm this. I was born here. I have this many siblings. I have blah, blah, blah. Do not do that. Don't make it a list to hit every single bullet point. Highlight. Okay. Highlight where you're from, qualities about you, things that make you unique, things that are special to you. Don't just give them a resume. Another question that I found that, people said that they were asked a lot was, okay, what would you do if you felt you were struggling or falling behind in a nursing class? I wasn't asked this question, but. So I said, if I were struggling or falling behind in a nursing class, I would begin by assessing my situation and how far behind I truly was. Then I would begin to allocate more time for my studies in that particular subject. I would join study groups to seek other methods and apply them. I would also speak to my professor for tips on how to be more successful and making them aware of my struggles. I would seek out a tutor and review past material. And then I said, and then I talked about an experience. So I said an experience about how I was falling behind in one of my classes. And then, because this is what my school recommended, they said, address the question. They said to basically give a scenario. Address the question, how you would answer the question. Give a scenario, like an experience, and then always say, from this experience, I learned. So always, always, always address the question first. Then say, actually, when I was in whatever, when I did whatever, this is what happened and this is what I did. And from this experience, I learned. They love that. You're going to get them with that. So that's one question. The next question that I found that could be asked is, so I kind of was, in a way, given this question. So you might be also, these aren't going to be like word for word verbatim questions, but they're going to be questions that in a way they are given to you. So another question. If you were treating a patient and they or a family member of theirs became verbally hostile, how would you handle it? So I said, again, talk about what you would do personally. Give a situation that kind of reflects the question. And then tell them what you did to solve it. And then say, from this experience, I learned. So here's what we're going to say. I would begin by listening to what the family member was actually saying, because oftentimes the situation escalates due to a misunderstanding. After listening to everything that was said, I would let the family know that I understand them and try to be empathetic toward them. They love empathetic. You always have to be empathetic as a nurse. In fact, in my current role, I have experienced, and that's when I talked about my experience. And then I said, from this experience, I learned that it takes teamwork and active communication to resolve difficult situations. Always, always, always say communication. They love to hear about how you're a great communicator and a great team player. Because remember, nursing involves a team. Everyone in the hospital has to work together and collectively to make sure the patient is safely discharged and does not readmit into the hospital. All right, so the next question. So this question I was not asked, but again, you could be. Many nurses struggle with long hours. They may be asked to work. Many nurses struggle with the long hours they may be asked to work. What is your perspective on working for extended periods? Okay. So now we're just going to use the same method again. Answer the question, talk about an experience, what you learned, and, what you did, and then what you learned from it. I'm sorry, the puppy just keeps, going this way, and I don't want her to fall off the bed. Okay. Oh, that's my feet. I'm sorry. So I would say, nurses work approximately 12-hour shifts, which can be extremely exhausting and oftentimes very stressful on an individual. It is no surprise that many nurses struggle with long-hour shifts because the body is only able to handle so much before it reaches its end. However, I feel that working long hours holds more benefit in the sense that nurses are able to get a lot more work done for the patient. In my experience, and then that's when I talk about my experience. And then I said, so I'll give you my example. I said that, in my experience, I work at the hospital. So in my experience, I work as a case management assistant. So in my experience with case management nurses, nurses have struggled to get an elder patient to have a BM after a major surgery. This process can take hours and sometimes days, which can delay discharge. Also, with the pandemic, facilities have been requiring a COVID test be done on all patients at least 48 hours prior to transfer. These tests have taken over 6 hours to be resulted, and most nurses get them done as soon as their shift starts if they know that patient will be getting ready for discharge. These regulatory things would be nearly impossible to accomplish in a shorter workday, as nurses already have their hands full with med delivery, rounding, assisting one another with transfers, taking and giving report, discharging patients, etc. So you don't have to go into all that detail like I did. I just wrote it out because that's just my personal experience with it, but that kind of gives you a little idea of what you can talk about. If you work at a fast food place, talk about how, in your experience with fast food, this, and this, or if you work at a store in rush hour or whatever, just make it personal and always be honest with your experience. I'm so sorry, I had to hit her. She's really biting me. She's a little mad chihuahua. She's an angry chihuahua. Okay. Stop. That hurts. I am so sorry. Stop it. Where's my hair tie? Here, take my hair tie and bite that. Okay. So, the next question. I wasn't asked this one, but this also came up. How do you feel about mandatory vaccines for nurses and other healthcare staff members? Okay, so this is another thing. In my hospital, we require to have flu shots. So I spoke about that. Mandatory vaccines can be a touchy subject in the world of healthcare because it is a struggle between personal autonomy and patient safety. I can understand those that feel they should have a say over the things they put in their bodies and agree that a person should have full control over it. However, when this decision can jeopardize the health of another individual, aka the patient, or patients being treated, I believe the issue is no longer about personal choice, but rather ensuring patient safety and preventing the spread of a disease in an already extremely vulnerable patient. At the hospital I currently work at, it is mandatory to obtain a flu shot. However, for those that do not want to get one due to religious belief or practice, they can obtain an exception letter from their physician and wear a mask when entering a patient room. I realize that this may not be the ideal solution, but it is one that offers choice and people can choose what is best for them.